The diner was alive with the clinking of dishes, the low murmur of conversations, and the hum of neon lights outside flickering against the window. For most people, it was just another ordinary place where hungry stomachs were filled and stories passed quietly between bites. But for Emma, the young waitress on the evening shift, every night here felt like a battlefield between exhaustion and determination. She wasn't just working for tips, she was working for survival. The bell above the door chimed, and in walked a young boy with wide eyes and a nervous shuffle. His clothes were neat but simple, and he clutched a small stuffed bear in his hand as if it were his anchor to the world. Emma noticed him immediately, not because children were unusual there, but because this boy seemed different. He didn't follow the flow of people, didn't look for a booth or a seat. Instead, he stood frozen near the door, scanning the room as if it were too much to take in. A few seconds later, a group of older boys at the corner booth snickered. One of them whispered loud enough for the boy to hear, "Look at him, clutching that teddy. What is he, 5?" Another chimed in, laughing, "Bet he can't even order food by himself." Emma's heart twisted. She knew that tone, that cruel teasing masked as casual humor. She wiped her hands quickly on her apron and walked over to the boy with the warmest smile she could muster. "Hey there, sweetheart," she said gently, kneeling down to meet his eye level. "Are you here to eat?" The boy hesitated, his lips trembling as he whispered, "My dad said wait here. He's parking the car." Emma nodded reassuringly. "Perfect. You did just right. Want to sit with me until he comes back?" He nodded slowly, his grip tightening around the teddy. She guided him to a booth, ignoring the muffled laughs from the corner. Sitting across from him, she placed a menu in front of him, not because she expected him to read it, but because she wanted him to feel included. "What's your bear's name?" she asked softly. "Mr. Buttons," the boy whispered, glancing up at her with timid eyes. Emma smiled. "That's a strong name. I bet he keeps you safe, huh?" The boy nodded again, a flicker of comfort washing over his face. Just then the door swung open again, and a tall man in an expensive tailored suit stepped in, his presence commanding attention without trying. His eyes darted instantly to the boy, relief evident as he hurried over. "Ethan," the man breathed, kneeling to embrace his son. "You're okay." Emma rose to her feet politely, stepping back to give them space. But as the man stood and turned to thank her, she recognized him immediately. The sharp jawline, the confident aura, the face she had seen more than once on magazine covers stacked near the counter. Her breath caught in her throat. It was Alexander Reed, the billionaire CEO of Reed Enterprises, a man who was known worldwide for his ruthless business tactics, his steely decisions, and the fortune that placed him among the most powerful men alive. But right now, he wasn't a billionaire. He was just a father, clutching his son as if the world outside might snatch him away. "Thank you," Alexander said, his deep voice carrying sincerity, "for staying with him." Emma shook her head. "No thanks needed, he's a sweet kid." But before anything more could be said, one of the boys from the corner booth called out mockingly, "Hey, mister, your kid lost his daycare. He was about to cry for his teddy." The diner chuckled with a cruel undertone. Alexander stiffened, his jaw tightening, but before he could respond, Emma stepped forward. "Enough!" Her voice sliced through the room with a strength even she hadn't expected. All eyes turned to her. "You don't get to talk about him like that. You don't know him. You don't know what he's been through. Keep your cruelty to yourselves." The boys smirked, but they fell silent under the weight of her glare. Emma turned back to Ethan, crouching down to his level again. "Hey, you're amazing, you know that. Don't listen to them. Mr. Buttons and I both think you're the bravest boy here." Ethan's lips curved into the smallest of smiles, and Alexander watched, stunned. For years, he had shielded Ethan from the cruelty of the world. His son had been born with special needs, struggling with sensory overloads and anxiety in public spaces. Alexander had built his empire with one hand while holding his son's hand with the other, always cautious, always wary. And yet here was this young waitress, who didn't look at Ethan with pity or discomfort, only kindness. When Emma left to tend to other tables, Alexander leaned down to Ethan. "You like her?" Ethan nodded, hugging Mr. Buttons tight. "She's nice, Dad, she's not mean." Something shifted in Alexander's chest, something he hadn't felt in years. When their food was finally ordered, Alexander requested Emma as their server. She was patient with Ethan, letting him order in his own halting way, never once rushing him. She even brought the burger cut into smaller pieces without asking, as if she instinctively knew it would help him. By the time the plates were cleared, Alexander couldn't take his eyes off her. Not because of her beauty, though she was lovely, but because of her heart. When she brought the check, he placed his card down. "Emma Wright?" he asked, reading her name tag. She nodded nervously. "Yes, sir." "You handled yourself well earlier. Most people don't." Her cheeks flushed. "It wasn't about me. It was about him. No child deserves to be mocked like that." Alexander studied her for a long moment before speaking quietly. "Do you know who I am?" Emma's lips twitched. "I'd have to live under a rock not to, but tonight you're just Ethan's dad. That's all that matters." Her words disarmed him completely. When she walked away, he turned to Ethan. "You know, son, not everyone sees us for who we really are, but she did." That night before leaving, Alexander pulled Emma aside. "Do you have children?" She shook her head, confused. "No." "Family?" "A younger brother," she admitted, her voice soft. "He's sick, that's why I work so many hours." There it was, the exhaustion in her eyes, the determination in her steps. She wasn't just surviving for herself, she was surviving for someone she loved. Alexander reached into his pocket and slid a business card across the counter. "Come to this address tomorrow, noon, please." Emma blinked. "Sir, I—" "No strings," he interrupted gently. "Just trust me." The next day, Emma almost didn't go. She had seen enough movies to know rich men didn't hand out favors without cost. But something about the sincerity in his eyes last night pushed her forward. When she arrived at the towering Reed Enterprises building, she felt painfully out of place. But Alexander himself greeted her in the lobby, escorting her upstairs to an office that overlooked the city skyline. "I won't waste your time," he said, gesturing for her to sit. "Last night, you protected my son when you didn't have to. You treated him with respect and kindness I rarely see in people. That matters more to me than anything else in this world." Emma fidgeted with her hands, unsure where this was going. He continued, his tone softening. "You said your brother is sick. Medical bills, I assume." Her throat tightened. "Yes." He slid a folder across the table. "This is a full scholarship for your brother's care, paid in full, and a job offer for you working with our company's charitable division, helping families like yours and kids like Ethan." Emma's eyes filled with tears. I can't accept this. I didn't do anything to deserve it." "You did," Alexander said firmly. "You reminded me that kindness still exists in the world, and people like you deserve to be lifted up, not left behind." At that moment, Ethan ran into the office, his nanny trailing behind, and hugged Emma tightly. "Miss Emma, Mr. Buttons says thank you too." Emma broke down, hugging him back. The room was silent except for the sound of a billionaire father realizing that sometimes the richest people in the world aren't the ones with money. They're the ones who give love without expecting anything in return. From that day forward, Emma's life changed forever. Her brother received the care he desperately needed, and she found herself working in a role that gave her purpose. And Ethan, he had someone new in his corner, someone who didn't see him as different but as special. Alexander's reaction had stunned everyone, not with anger, not with arrogance, but with gratitude and generosity. Because for the first time in a long time, the world had reminded him that even the most powerful man was powerless without kindness. And Emma, she never forgot that sometimes, standing up in the smallest moments can change everything. even the life of a billionaire and his special son.